In this lesson, I'll be teaching you how to write chemical formulas of molecular compounds. What is a chemical formula? A chemical formula is a way to represent a chemical compound using symbols and numbers. It shows the element present and their ratio in the compound. For example, water has a chemical formula of H2O, and this tells us that there are two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen present. Now, let's highlight the steps involved in writing chemical formulas of molecular compound. Step 1. Write the symbols of the element which forms the compound. Step 2. Determine the valency or charges of the element. Step 3. Cross the valencies to get the simplest ratio. Now, let's take this example. How do we write the chemical formula for calcium chloride? Following these steps we highlighted, the first thing we need to do is to write the symbols of the element which forms the compound. In calcium chloride, there are two elements, which are calcium and chlorine. The chemical symbol for calcium is Ca, and the chemical symbol for chlorine is Cl. Next, we determine the valency or charges of each element. We know that valency is the combining power of an element. Calcium has a valency of +2. Chlorine has a valency of -1. Next, we cross the valencies to get the simplest ratio. What do we mean by this? We simply exchange the charges on each of these elements. The 2 on calcium goes to chlorine, and the 1 on chlorine goes to calcium. So this becomes Ca1Cl2. Remember, when we have the subscript as 1, we do not need to write it. So this becomes CaCl2. So the chemical formula for calcium chloride is CaCl2. Notice that we did not attach the sign to these numbers. This is because when writing chemical formula, we ignore the positive or negative sign of the charges. Now, let's look at this. How do you write the chemical formula for carbon dioxide? In carbon dioxide, there are two elements which are carbon and oxygen. The chemical symbol for carbon is C. The chemical symbol for oxygen is O. Next, we determine the valencies of the element. We know that the valency for carbon in carbon dioxide is +4, and the valency of oxygen is -2. Next, we cross the valencies to get the simplest ratio. So, the 4 on carbon comes to oxygen, and the 2 on oxygen comes to carbon. So, this becomes C2O4. As you can see here, the subscript 2 and 4 are not in their simplest ratio. So, to simplify this, we divide by their greatest common divisor, which is 2. When we divide the subscript of carbon by 2, we have 1. We divide the subscript of oxygen by 2, we have 2. So this becomes CO2. So the chemical formula for carbon dioxide is CO2. Now let's look at this. How do you write the chemical formula for calcium carbonate? The first thing we need to do is to write the symbols of the elements present. In calcium carbonate, we have calcium and carbonate. The chemical symbol for calcium is Ca. The chemical symbol for carbonate is CO3. Next, we determine the valencies of this element. Calcium has a valency of +2, and CO3, which is a radical or polyatomic ion, has a valency of -2. Next, we cross the valencies to get the simplest ratio. So the 2 on calcium goes to carbonate, and the 2 on carbonate goes to calcium. So this becomes Ca2. Since carbonate is a polyatomic ion, you have to put it in brackets. So this is brackets CO3, then close bracket 2. Now, as you can see here, the subscripts of calcium and carbonate are not in their simplest ratio. So, to simplify this, we divide by their greatest common divisor, which is 2. When we divide the subscript of calcium by 2, we have 1. When we divide the subscript of carbonate by 2, we also have 1. So this becomes CaCO3. Try this. Write the chemical formula of ammonium sulfate. Write the chemical formula of ammonium sulfate. Drop your answer in the comment section, and also don't forget to subscribe.